welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about things that are weighing on your minds. I'm Dan Oliverio. I'm an author, public speaker, and card-carrying chubby chaser. And today, I'm a happy little gardener because I just got a mint plant for some of my favorite cocktails involving mint.
Ooh, nice. What is your favorite cocktail involving mint?
I've been really enthusiastic about this Italian cocktail that uses a special little liqueur called Quintessentia.
So I'll be right over.
You got to muddle
put the show on hold. I am going to grab one of those and we can start recording right after that.
Excellent.
I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub. I live in West Hollywood. I'm 30 feet above Daniel. And today I am a nerdy boy because I've been working on my character sheet for Michael's D&D game.
Dum dum dum.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, my name is Michael. I am a chaser, and I am back in my space. There was a calamitous event, and I had to stay in a hotel for the last week and a half. And I'm finally back in my space and ready to go. And then everything broke again. So I guess that's just what 2021 is. There you go. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Hey there, I'm Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood, and today I am a double-booked daddy's boy because I was talking with my father on our weekly phone call before we started this, and I misscheduled our recording time, so I'm here.
Hey, happy to have you.
My father's
Happy to
pissed
have
at
you.
me for blowing him off.
It's an interesting start to 2021 as it kind of plows forward into the unknown. This is coming out. It's Tuesday. If you're listening on the day this came out, it is now Wednesday. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 24 hours, which obviously for the future listeners, this is around the time Donald Trump was permanently banned from Twitter, which is, it's weird. It's fun, but also like it's the part in the horror movie
Scary.
where the monster's gone.
Yeah.
And
This is where we've shot him once and we're screaming at Pelosi to shoot him in the head while he's down.
Double tap.
I'm waiting for a presidential jump scare at this point.
I'm
God.
laughing because it's so true.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. You think he's gone, but...
All right, well, let's get to it. We've got a really good show this week. Start off with actually some good news. Let's turn those frowns upside down. We have a really sort of heartfelt story that we found a listener sent in actually, about an Instinct magazine about a gay couple who turned a COVID vaccination into a proposal opportunity. One of them was getting his vaccination, and the other, I think the other guy was actually administering the vaccination. Is that how it went?
Yes.
And under his sleeve, where the vaccination was going to be injected, he had taped his proposal engagement ring. And the really cute part about it is that, and it's absolutely no mention or point in the article whatsoever, it's just kind of nice that one of them is a fat boy and super cute, and it super didn't matter in the article. It's just about a lovely gay couple that got engaged. And it's kind of nice to see a non-story about a fat person getting engaged. I like that.
Yes.
I like not having to make it into an issue.
Yeah, this is kind of, I think, like what this is the goal. This is what we want, where there is just representation and it's not a thing, and it's not about weight loss.
And that's true of the journey of every minority representation in popular cinema. The goal is to just be a character.
It's not so long ago that the thing we'd be talking about is, and can you believe it? They proposed right in front of the coworkers, and none of the coworkers had a problem with the fact they were gay. But we don't even talk about that anymore because in most urban areas, that's not even a thing anymore. At least in my world, I know. I'm sure there's some listener out there who's like, oh, it's a thing. You know, if you're in Krakow or something.
I imagine this is the listener who's always in their car, just clutching the steering wheel, yelling at us.
It's still a thing.
If he's gonna get here any minute because he's still in his car.
So high five to this was originally reported by CNN by Samira Saeed, I think, or Samira Saeed. High five. Thank you for reporting this appropriately. We appreciate it.
It's nice. It's nice to have nice things.
Do we get to have nice things now? Please?
Yeah. We get another nice thing. Not a nice thing. Another nice thing.
I don't know. I'm not ready to take the plastic off the couch yet.
So what other nice things do we have going on? We have the second Fat Watch of the year.
Fat Watch.
Yeah, the music. Got the music going. It's you're excited. It's news. It's not about everything going on. It's Fat Watch.
2021.
Yes, 2021. I had something earlier where I had no idea what year it was.
Wait, so it's all the news that's fat to print?
Yes.
Oh, fat chance of that, Don.
Oh.
Michael.
Trevor, I'm leaving. Enjoy.
Michael, I believe this was sent in by a listener.
It was, yes. Did you want me to?
Yeah, I'll let you.
Set up.
I'm setting it up, and you're going to swing your little Michael bat.
Swing my not so little Michael bat. Sorry, that's getting cut. Don't expect to hear that in the show.
So if we all discuss your not so little Michael bat over the course of the show, you'd have to leave it in so you'd have context.
No, people just think you're weird. So this was really fun. It was sent in by a listener, and I think the eye-catching part about it is that it was in the cover of Cosmopolitan UK. The title of the article is 11 Women Who Prove Wellness Isn't One Size Fits All. But the representation within, as you can imagine by the title, was really, really broad. And the woman they feature on the cover of the article is this beautiful, happy, fat woman posing. And literally the headline of the cover of the magazine says, "This is healthy!" ! And talk about making a statement. Like,
yeah,
you don't see stuff like that every day.
No.
Well, and I like that they didn't pull the punch. Like they didn't couch it as like, "Is this healthy?" Let's have a debate.
Right.
You know, it's like
open the magazine and find out.
Exactly. Yeah. They could have turned it into a big teaser.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert: people are already mad about this. My little news aggregator, like,
oh my god. Yeah.
But,
anytime you treat fat people as human beings, people get upset.
Yes. But it is a lovely kind of feature showing different women with different bodies and kind of their approach to wellness. And I hate the word exercise. I feel like everything is just becoming like toxic forms of trying to get us to buy stuff. But I'll say wellness and movement and joy, because it is just a very the photos are just very happy, and there's a lot of millennial pink, and then also whatever the new yellow is, that's like one of the colors of the year.
Piss yellow.
No, it's banana yellow. I think it's partially inspired by the duct taped banana, because the colors for this year it's like kind of a banana yellow and then like a duct tape gray.
Did you get kidnapped by Pantone and something and being held in a color vault? What's going on
No,
here?
I'm just
so confused.
I'm plugged into
you are so plugged
stuff.
in.
That's just one of my weird things. I like I actually got in trouble at one point in junior high because I bought this book of like about color, and it was a Pantone book, and it was kind of, I got in trouble because it's like I was just flipping through a book of big swatches of color, and they didn't know that like there was more to it than just colorful squares. Anyway.
So what you're saying is that we're just as bad as the teachers who shut you down in high school, and we're triggering you.
Hold on. Do years have colors assigned?
Oh, yes.
I'm so confused.
Yeah.
Who picks whose job is this?
As I said,
big
it's
color.
Pantone. It's big color. It's Pantone and the conspiracy of elite designers.
I think we may have lost the plot.
Yeah, okay. But Michael keep some of this, but also like we're way off the rails here.
People need to know.
Anyway,
forget this fat thing. I want to do the color expose from now on. That's the new podcast theme. Color expose.
Lovely spread in the Cosmopolitan UK. And speaking of the UK, which is no longer part of the European Union, their neighbors in France I saw
yeah.
this. I'm a part of a Facebook group that's called Fat Studies, and it is different fat activists or people studying like fat studies or kind of different, sometimes it's people who are in gender studies with a minor in fat studies. People in this sphere of fat activism, fat studies, sharing ideas, asking for input. This woman who was part of a French fat activist group posted this message, which I'm going to have Dan read in one of his lovely French accents.
I'll just do the French right.
Yeah.
Anyway, the person writes, my French fat activist group, Gras Politique, is campaigning against a new French TV show about bariatric surgery called Opération Renaissance, which translates as Operation Rebirth in English. And basically the idea of getting an operation to lose weight is supposed to make you born again. And they say, we will be sharing under the hashtag Pas ma Renaissance, which is not my rebirth, on social media if you want to look into it.
Which I was looking and I was surprised. I mean, I'm always surprised to see any kind of fat activism outside of the United States because we've mentioned some other groups in previous episodes, but I don't see a lot from them. I see that they exist. If you go to the Pas ma Renaissance, which I should be saying better because I took French for 8 years. It is very active, and I started following the group Grosse Politique. I love to see, I don't know, that even in France they're tired of all this bullshit. But check out Grosse Politique. I'm going to put the hashtag.
No, can I just say for what I have,
sorry.
unless it's different, it's Gras Politique, not Grosse.
Gras. It's
Gras. Well, it's a different word. That's why.
Yeah. Sorry. Grosse Politique.
Sure. Let's go with that.
I'm sorry. Je suis désolé. Je ne parle beaucoup de français. Je parle un peu de français.
What does it say about?
I know how to apologize in French and say I speak a little French. Je suis très désolé.
It says something about the French that I speak that when you say gras politique, the first thing that comes to my mind is pâté de foie gras politique, which I think
that's the same word. I mean, it's the gras.
But that sounds like a group I joined.
Yeah, exactly.
Check out the hashtag. I'm going to put the hashtag in all the social media. You can click on it and see the various posts on if it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Check it out.
Is the hashtag also in English, or is that just for translation purposes?
That's just for the Americans who are like me and maybe. Well, no, I don't know. I understand more French than I can't speak, and for some reason, I always was told I spoke great French, but I did not, write it well, which I don't understand because, as you can tell, listener, I have no idea what I'm doing.
I remember one time my friend in college came back from his French final exam and he had bombed it, just terrible. And he was so upset and he was so angry. And he just said, what do the French need a language for anyway?
Maybe don't put that in because we might have some new French listeners.
All right.
Moving on.
For our main topic today, we're actually revisiting our mailbag because we had a letter show up in December. Was it, Michael?
Yeah, early December, right around the time that we did our Chaser episode, the first one, and we missed it. We just completely overlooked it by accident in our various different inboxes, and it's a really powerful story this guy has written us in with, and it actually merited its own discussion.
Yeah. Our apologies for missing that. I do promise we read all the email that everything you send in, we read, even if it's something that we may criticize you for in the future. We read it.
We actually, we had a different episode planned this week, but we bumped it because this actually felt really important to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So do we care who reads this?
I'll read it if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. I was 19 years old and dating my second boyfriend. He was a 6'3" fat guy in his early 20s, and after having sex once, he asked, what do you like about me? Why are you attracted to me? And I said, I'm attracted to your body and you have great taste in movies. He dressed up and then proceeded to tell me to please elaborate. I tried my best and failed. After that, he brought up his laptop and asked me to show him the porn I liked. I did and immediately regretted it. He looked at like 10 seconds of the porn video I picked and he said that I needed to find help. And he even offered to help me find a psychiatrist so I could be fixed. At the time, that fucked me up. Having a guy that you absolutely love telling you how sick you are for being attracted to him, it was too much. And the worst thing is that I liked the guy so much that I actually tried and forced myself to like skinny guys.
Oh,
I definitely got over that trauma, but Lord, it made it hard for me to share and enjoy my sexuality with my future partners. That is until I did start therapy.
oh gosh. Where do you want to
this
start?
This one hit a note for me. One, I don't think we got a name off of there, but we're going to call you Charlie. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie. Thank you
Charlie,
for writing us.
I apologize that you went through that. That sucks. And it sucks that it's my people that did it to you. My fat people. And the reason why this hit a note for me is because, God damn it, I hate to admit it, but I could see myself doing something like this by accident. Right? Like I have my own issues. I've got my own bullshit. I'm trying to work on it, but you know what? Every once in a while, my own bullshit's just going to slosh out of the bucket and get on people that are too close to me when we're talking about topics that are too close to my soft spots. This is something that this poor kid had to deal with on his own because somebody else hadn't fully dealt with their own bullshit yet. And guys, when chasers love us, you know what? We got to watch our bullshit. You know?
Yeah.
Our difficulty accepting other people's attractions and love for us, that's just going to be a big hurdle. You know, I understand the programming we all go through. I understand the grappling we got, but Charlie, this is not on you. And everyone like Charlie who's been in the situation, take it from a fat guy. This is not on you.
Yeah.
Dan?
Yeah, I was going to say that I like that point you made, Don, about your own bullshit leaking out onto other people. And for all the chubs out there who feel like they've been mistreated by a chaser, it's actually the same issue. It's the chaser's own bullshit, the chub's own bullshit leaking out onto other innocent people in your life. And it's how shit goes wrong. This has happened to me. I wasn't 19. I wasn't nearly as vulnerable as this guy. But I told a beautiful man in my bed, a beautiful 500-pound Samoan, I said, wow, you are beautiful. And he said, dude, you need therapy. Just right out. Yeah. And again, I wasn't affected like this guy. I've also had the experience of porn, of showing this guy tried to pick me up at Starbucks. And I'm like, sorry, not interested. You're not my type. He was this gorgeous, thin Asian guy. And it's like, sorry, you're not my type. Which of course leads to, well, what's your type? And so I said, well, I like really fat guys. And he's like, look, if you don't want to go out with me, you don't have to lie to me. So I said, I have a whole collection of fat boy porn on my computer. I can show you right now if you don't believe. He's like, no. But, and again, I'm not trying, I'm the opposite of one-upping. The point of my telling this is not because something worse happened to me. Quite the opposite. This is devastating what this guy told us about.
Yeah.
The point of my sharing this is that it is more ubiquitous than you think.
Mm-hmm. And I appreciate Dan bringing that up, that there's chaser bullshit too. Cause I think Dan, it was early in our friendship. Michael, I think it was early in our friendship when I got dumped by a guy that I was seeing up in Pepperdine. And this has happened to me twice before this too. Where the parting shot is from this guy, like, oh, and I never really found you attractive. The fat thing is just not, and it creates when you're on the receiving end of that. I'm like, your body told me you were attracted to me. You calling me a lot told me you were attracted. I'm very confused by that. But to me, that parting shot of dismissive cruelty has been a pattern that I've received from multiple chasers. And that set up additional bullshit in my mind that then I have sloshed onto other chasers, I'm sure. So there is a cycle of rejection and cruelty going on here that we need to examine within ourselves.
Absolutely.
I can't fix it when someone else does it, but it's sort of my responsibility to make sure that their bullshit that's splashed onto me, I don't rub off on someone else. I wish I had a good method for that. It's just something that I've had to kind of heal over time. If one of you have a strategy on how to deal with this sort of bullcrap, that'd be great.
I mean, I think a way to, I think how we can start to break this pattern is the awareness of so in the case of Charlie, the vulnerability, like showing someone the porn you look at is a very vulnerable and very generous act because it's a very intimate thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we kind of talked about this in the Valentine's Day episode. When people share their desires with you, the vulnerability in that. And even if it's not necessarily your thing, acknowledging that generosity of sharing that. And if it activates something within you, trying to realize that's on you and that them sharing this vulnerability or desire isn't necessarily reflective of whatever that is generating is on your end.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I feel like if there's ever a moment where you're sharing your a video of porn with somebody or they're doing that for you, like if there's ever the context of doing that and judging what you're about to see, like, well, show me what you like you clearly going in with some level of judgment, that's never going to go well.
Yeah. It's
got to be for, oh, show me what you like so we can come up with some fun ideas or, whatever. Yeah. Like if it's for something constructive like that, but Charlie was set up to fail. Like he was this guy he was dating asked him clearly so that he could use it to slap him down.
Well, and this is, I was in a relationship and I remarked to my boyfriend at the time, like, oh, that guy over there is really hot. And my boyfriend looked at me like, oh, you've got to be kidding. And my boyfriend at the time was offended. Like he was really upset. Like it took a few hours to move on from this. He was so offended that I could find him attractive and also this guy attractive because he thought that guy was loathsome. And how dare I put them in the same category? And I think that also happened here in this porn example that Charlie talks about, where show me what you like. And he shows him some porn and the guy has a reaction to the porn. And then he's like, oh my God, you think I'm that? That's sick. That's disgusting. And he makes it personal. Well,
and the worst part for me is that there was no there was no
Absolutely
video
not,
that he could have pulled up that would have resulted in a good response.
Nope.
Like that was,
it was a trap. It was a trap.
Yeah, it was absolutely a trap. And that's part of why it's so frustrating, besides the fact that this guy is
I just got to circle back because this is something I'm going to reiterate at least 3 times during this topic. Charlie, this was not about you.
Well,
His
and that's
bullshit was not about you.
And when you asked earlier, Don, like, what can you do about this? A lot of times when you get, like you talked about that parting shot, well, I was never really attracted to you anyway, or the really awful parting shot that a lot of chubs have gotten, certainly in the online dating world. Where the chaser says like something to the effect of like, you rejected me. You should be grateful that anybody's into you and blah, 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 you fat, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, oh my God, where did this come from? Because it's,
I'm so glad I've never gotten that. My God, the rage I would express.
Absolutely. Because 3 lines ago, they're like, hi, you're hot. Any pics? No, sorry, not interested. You fat, and that was the intro, right?
Yeah.
And then, it's horrible. And I think a lot of chubs, unfortunately, have had to get used to that sort of horrible online interaction, used to it because it happens. And the only coaching I have for that with people is, you got to it's not personal. It's their little hell that they've decided to drop on you for a moment, and you don't have to accept it. What really gets dangerous, either in that scenario or the why don't you ever take me out in public scenario, is, you will get what you will tolerate. if you set it up that you don't tolerate that in your life, then that's not going to occur in your life. You can say no to that. Not because they're terrible people, but because, that's kind of we're not compatible. If we can't go out in public together, we're not compatible. Anybody who's going to treat me like that, we are so not compatible.
And I know that when Dan says that, there's a bunch of guys out there going like, well, yeah, but there aren't a ton of options for me. So I, keep lowering the bar. Well, if you keep lowering the bar, you are never going to find something you're happy with.
And I would
Dan
say that
is correct. And sometimes you just have to pass up the dessert that's in front of you right now for the better meal that's down the road.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, there's Hometown Buffet, and you know what you're going to get, and it's available, and it's around the block, and it's cheap as hell. And yeah, maybe the steakhouse isn't in your budget or isn't even in your town, but that doesn't mean you can't try to look at, okay, so what would it take to be in the steakhouse instead of at Home Country Buffet?
Hometown Buffet is a great one to compare it to because you're going to feel bad after Hometown Buffet too. So,
like, Hannibal Lecter finds you on Growler and says, "Hey, I'll cook you a meal." Like, do you say yes or do you say no?
Sometimes it's better to eat alone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to look at this one part, which I think we've talked about a little bit, but maybe not so much on this show, which is, in the second paragraph, he says, worse is that I like the guy so much that I actually tried and forced myself to like skinny guys.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, Dan, I have some stories about that of my own. Have you ever been in that mindset before?
I remember being frustrated that traditionally hot guys did and still do completely pull my focus. But I know from experience that if I take that guy to bed, nothing's going to happen that either one of us is going to enjoy. I say to him, I've made the comparison. It's like a dog chasing a car. What's he going to do when he catches it? And I will go after. I learned when I was young, I was like, oh wow, that's amazing. He's so hot. Oh my God, and he's into me. He's so hot. And then we get in bed and like, uh-oh, I'm kind of stuck now. Shit. And then I am the world's worst lover. And I couldn't figure out why that kept happening.
Every time Dan says the dog chasing a car thing, I imagine the car stopping and the dog just hitting the back of a car.
Well, that's what happens that's exactly what happens when the hot guy returns the cruise and we ended up in bed. This is like when I was in my early 20s. And it's like, why does this keep not going well? Well, because that's not what you really like. That's what you think you should like.
So I have, over the last, 10 plus years, I've sort of occasionally circled around this mindset of like, well, like when you have enough people tell you that, like I've heard a variety of different versions of like, I'll say, I'll just explain being a chaser and somebody will say, well, that seems really close-minded. Have you tried widening your perception? Mm-hmm. It's like, there's that one of like, oh, just, dabble, like don't limit yourself. And then there's also the like, just the vague pressure of like, oh, like, are you sure? Are you sure about that? And so occasionally I've come around to like, should I test my own desires? Like, should I push myself into it? Like Dan was saying, like, should I push myself into a situation with a guy who I like, but is not the physical type that I tend to go for? And there's been a handful of guys that have been around my size, some smaller, some a little bigger. And yeah, it doesn't go well. It's not to say that they aren't necessarily good experiences in other ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I like being close to somebody. I like, whatever, like that can feel good. But when we come to actual sexual activity, it don't go well.
For anyone who says like, are you sure? They're sure. Trust me. They're sure. I have seen the transcendence. The like, I feel like it's gonna be like in Watchmen, where they're gonna explode and like layer by layer, and then just be like a floating brain and system of the nervous system, and then just like eyeballs, and then just dust. It is, I mean, the sureness is definitely there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the thing that it took me a while to figure out was that, I mean, there is a spectrum of what I'll respond to, and it's a pretty wide there's a pretty wide spectrum. And so trying to push myself beyond the lowest point of that spectrum, I mean, I was able to experiment and it didn't go the way I thought it would, in that I thought it was going to be okay. And it was actually terrible. And then I came back into my spectrum, and then I started pushing myself to the other end of the spectrum. And it was kind of like what Trevor was just saying.
You must be this wide to ride.
Yeah. I will tell you, I have been people's first male experience. Mm-hmm. I have been people's first fat experience. And the reactions of all those guys was exactly the same. Like, you know, like a thirsty man in front of an oasis, you know.
I've thought I've killed guys before. I remember in college, this lawyer who I like, high, like very like real, like lawyer, like high-end Chicago law firm, brought into my dorm, and I thought he was having a stroke or seizure or something, because the level of convulsions
in the orgasm
that he experienced, yes. And it was just that was like the most, at the time, intense. I think might still even be, just because I was like, I don't know I don't know if I call 911. I don't know if I was a freshman in college. Like, do I get my RA? What do I do here?
If a lawyer dies of extreme orgasm in your dorm room, do you call the RA first? Is it like being caught with a candle?
So Charlie, hopefully you can tell from this discussion, you are not alone in this experience. Many of us have had different versions of it. I am terrified at the thought that I might have done something similar. I know I've not done this, but done something similar to some poor guy that I was with. It breaks my heart at the thought of it, but I couldn't say that I'd be completely shocked.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think the interesting twist at the end of this is that even though it came in the form of a really awful message, he did eventually work his way through that trauma through therapy, which I think there are a lot of different forms of therapy for people, and it's not one size fits all, as we've discussed many times. But in his case, like, he was able to overcome that experience and the scars that it left by finding the answers that he needed. And I think that's really admirable. And I think that not everybody gets the opportunity to have that kind of growth. And so if you're listening and something similar has happened to you, it's maybe all you need to hear is that it's possible to move beyond that voice in your head of somebody that you really valued or were in love with, and they're actually not the end all be all. Yeah. And that person is just one person.
Mm-hmm.
And these traumatic romantic experiences, and I know this is not going to make anything feel better. These traumatic experiences are actually sometimes some of the greatest opportunities for our own personal growth. Like, the person you are now, right? Having gone through therapy, having confronted your desires, who you are, what you want, a lot of it may be owed to this experience where you were forced to question that and look inward. And I know that doesn't make it feel any better, but the person you are now and those levels you've gained since this experience may be drawn back to that moment.
I am curious where is that guy now? Has he, is he still like that? Is he better? Is he worse? Like, there is a long, I'm assuming at least several years have gone by since this happened. I mean, I get the sense that Charlie's probably in his mid to late 20s by now. And I'm curious what that original 6'3" fella is up to. Like, has he been able to find a lasting relationship when he thinks that the people who like him need therapy?
Well, I also want to look at the flip side of that, which is, and Don, you mentioned this, where, when you said, like, God, I hope I didn't do this or something like this, because it'd be quite a thing to do this. Mm-hmm. But you'd remember. But how many fat guys out there, basically their opinion, one's opinion of one's body often dictates the experiences one has with one's body. Yeah. And if you feel like there's a couple of ways that I've seen chubs relate to their body. One is like, I don't have a body. I'm just sort of this really smart person who happens to have stuff below the neck, but we're not going to discuss that. And so when a chaser responds to that stuff below the neck, they're unhinged by it because they don't know what to do with it. And they make it suspect. They make it wrong. They turn it into some sort of fetishistic stuff. And believe me, I'll be the first one to admit that chasers often can't get out of the way of their own dick and can be dicks. Believe me, I know that. But there's also the other side of that where a lot of chubs deny themselves the pleasure of a really wonderful chaser because they wouldn't want to be a member of a club who would have them as a member. And the club is, the fat man's club.
Yeah. And there's that really difficult not balance, but difficult headspace to find yourself in where your own attitude towards yourself, even if you think you've got it under wraps, is going to directly affect how the person you're with is able to find you attractive and relate to your body. Like if you hate how you look, no matter how good of a relationship you have in every other way with that other person, there's still going to be this big barrier between you and them because they like how you look. They probably love how you look. And until, like, let's even say that this, in this hypothetical, you haven't said something horrible like you need therapy and, get out of my face. But you still have that hump to overcome. Like if you can't find a way to accept how you look, you're never going to be able to have a really deep connection with somebody who does accept how you look. And
Michael, has that happened to you where you've been in bed with a gorgeous fat guy and the last thing in the world he thinks of himself is that he's a gorgeous fat guy? Like, have you ever had to sort of ease them through that?
It has happened. Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I've actually made some decent progress and experiences where that has been the case. I think because of my background and my sensitivity to trauma and scars that other people carry because I have my own, I think I'm able to sort of ease people through that in a way that may not always be the case. And I have the patience for it. Like I aspire to be like that at all times. And so, yeah, it does take some effort and but I think the problem that happens is like, okay, let's say you work through that together and now you're on the edge of a knife because it's such a delicate place to be. And like, you're there together, but you're kind of like holding each other's hands and leaning backwards over either side. And like, if one person slips or like does anything even remotely triggering, you're both going to fall and get cut. So it is really hard to maintain that balance. It's like a stopgap. Like if the chaser you're with is, able to go along and be in that space with you, even though it's hard for you, there's still got to be work that's done. Like it will keep you guys going forward if you're dating and you're a couple, but there's still stuff that needs to be healed and grown through. It's not a permanent solution to just be balancing there all the time. But yeah, I have been in that case a few times.
I hate to say, like, here we need to work on this and then not give a method to try and work on something. Mm-hmm. So if you were going to give, let's call the guy who was a dick to Charlie Goofus, right?
Okay.
As opposed to Gallant.
As opposed to Gallant. If you were going to give Goofus some advice on how to get past his own bullshit that he's splashing all over poor Charlie, what advice would you give? I think the thing that I would probably encourage first off is for this guy to maybe try and make some more fat friends, platonic friends. Because I know within myself, I find it easier to see the positive quality in another human being that I can't find in myself. Right. It's easier for me to sort of find, something beautiful about Trevor's body than it is for me to find about my own, right? I don't know why that is, but it's how I'm built. It's sort of like if someone was to insult me, I'd probably feel hurt, but I'd find it easier to slide than if I heard someone insult Trevor.
Mm-hmm,
if someone insulted Trevor, oh, sweet Jesus, you better fucking get in your car and drive because I'm going to find your ass. And I will be in the back seat. And when time it comes for the end of our closing bit of the episode, you better fucking watch out. But if you direct that at me, I'm a little more zen about it.
To piggyback on that, I think I find a lot of people in my seminars, a lot of fat guys in my seminars will say, working through what you're talking about, they'll go, oh, well, my friend Lewis, he's a fat guy and he's just so confident and he gets all these really hot guys and I want to be like that. And they get that so, I mean, it's not just making friends maybe with any fat friend, but who are the fat people that you would like to be like because they don't seem inhibited or stopped by their body, or they seem to actually take pride in their body, even though, they're not traditionally supposed to, because, oh my God, they're fat. I think that is a really good way to look at how do they do it? Because they're doing something that I'm not doing. So what are they doing?
Yeah, I'd say that's a really good point. Like humanizing people that you would otherwise treat like trash.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the other thing, the thing that's going on with Goofus here is that Goofus doesn't think he has a problem, is the biggest problem. Goofus thinks that a chaser does need therapy and that chasers need to be fixed so that they don't I had a guy on Bigger City actually email me and just lit light into me right from the get-go of the message. And I'm like, where is this coming from? Because he doesn't know me from Adam and he's just being so hateful. Like, how dare you date fat guys? I'm like, excuse me?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What's he doing on Bigger City?
Do you know where you are?
And it was a fat guy. No, here's what he thought. He thought that I was just stringing these guys along and giving them false hope and, kicker, keeping them from weight loss, which was where they all needed to go.
Oh,
but if they see that someone like me is interested in them, well, then they're absolutely not going to lose weight. So aren't I really killing them? I mean, he had this whole construct, right? And that's where the Goofus in this story.
So the only reason to lose weight is to get laid.
No. It's that if
the only possible motive.
No, it's that perhaps indirectly, but the idea that if you can get a hot guy, why would you lose weight? And if you take that incentive away, then they're all going to die at 30. It's just, but the thing is, I've given seminars and I've had guys stand up and say like, oh, I would never date a chubby chaser. Absolutely not. I'm like, so you want to date someone who hates your body as much as you do? It's this idea that we attract what we get and we get what we attract. And people fail to realize that it's really linked like that. And so for the person who thinks, well, this is all I can get. Well, yeah, it is all you can get if that's all you think you can get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Dan's point is well taken that this, because I was trying to think like, okay, what would I say? But the thing is this Goofus is not there. He thinks there's nothing wrong with him. At least he did at the time that this story happened. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but if there's somebody who is maybe a little bit closer to, at least acknowledging that they have something to work on. Oh boy, it's tough. I mean, there's so much going on there, but I think really if it's a couple, I think my advice would be that a good chaser or a good guy that you're dating can only help you so much, but it is not their job to. If they are a good person, they will want to. If they're a good person, they will try, but it is not their job to fix you, save you, bring you along. They can rise to the occasion in the moment, but it is your job to work on your shit. And whatever that looks like, if it's getting therapy, a life coach, or just listening to a podcast that opens your eyes a little bit, I think that everyone could use a little bit more introspection. And that's probably what I would say.
It always comes back to like help can be asked for, help can be given, help can never be expected.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a dynamic that can fall into. If you have a dynamic in your relationship, and this has actually happened to me on the other side, where I was in a relationship with a thin guy, and guess what? It wasn't really working out sexually. We were completely in love, but it wasn't really working out sexually in a big way. So, and it became this dynamic, and this is also, you can generalize from this, that when you get into this dynamic that like, oh, my partner is great. He's going to help me through this. He's going to help. Yeah, they can help you through it. But what is embedded in that, if it goes on too long, if it becomes a current, if it becomes a dynamic, is that he's going to help me becomes a reinforcing loop for I'm defective. If he always helps you, that means you're always going to be, he always helps you to the extent that you're always defective. And so there has to be a way.
It's a very codependent relationship.
Yeah. And it creates a certain dynamic that it's ironic because it's the very dynamic you're trying to break out of, but it ends up reinforcing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it just, you are your own set of limitations. Like you can only go as far as you will allow yourself to go. And, you know, I think another way of saying this, like nobody can love you if you can't love yourself first. You know, it's only going to grow so much without your own efforts.
So this is a little bit of a tangent to what we're talking about, but our conversation has put this in my mind, right? So I was talking to a very attractive chaser guy online. I have no question that he's attracted to me. That is not the issue here, right? However, when he talked a little bit about porn, right? And actually talked about like this porn movie that he's like super hot for. It's like all this context for him. It's like one of the first porn movies he ever saw. It's all these fantasies tied up with it. I went to look at it and it's mainstream gay pornography, right? No one even vaguely of my body type.
Interesting.
And it's threw a little bit of a wrench in my psyche. I'll admit, even now that I like to say I'm a little more advanced than I once was, of like, wait, so are you, by sending me this, are you signaling that you're not attracted to me? Or
no,
but that's where the brain goes, right?
My question would be, what is like, what's happening in this video? Because I feel like I would be less focused. Like if there's no one fat in the video, I'm like, okay, but my brain would be like, okay, but what's happening here? What is?
Oh, the situational aspect of
it.
Is there a kink that's being explored?
Oh,
there are several layers.
Didn't occur to me.
Well, there are several layers. Definitely, absolutely what Trevor says is, you're looking at body type because you're kind of predisposed to look at body type. Like you said, he already knows he's into you. You already know he's into you. That's not on the table anymore. This is about behavior, dynamic, power. It's about some other aspect that's going on in the porn. Also, it may also be, let's say it's vanilla porn, and it's like, you look at it and you go like, looks like porn to me. Looks like, like nothing.
Stamp across the screen, porn.
Like if it seems like the cardboard box of porn, like that's pretty ordinary. Then what the other thing I would say is that it just may be kind of where I was in my early 20s, where I didn't have any other model. And I was turned on sort of mentally by thinner guys, but I knew I wasn't going to get it on with them after I figured that out after some experience. And so he may not, like, he doesn't see it the way you're seeing it. He's looking, like, even if it's not about power dynamics or particular activities or whatever, he's just, he may be looking at the passion involved. He may be looking at just how they look at each other or how they don't look at each other,
Good point.
Whatever it is. But I think it's safe to say that given how sure you are that he's attracted to you, and I think that's likely, like, I don't think you're wrong in that. I think that Trevor's absolutely right that there's something else that's interesting him about it. And it might be, if you can't pick it up just by looking at it on your own, you can kind of ask him about it. Like, so, like, watch it with him. Like, I invite him to watch it with him, like, like, narrate this. And you will, because, you're a writer. If he narrates the porn, or even if you just have a conversation, like, you don't have to sit down with him. If you just say, wow, that was so interesting, that porn you sent me the link to, what are you responding to in that? What excites you about that? The way that he writes that narrative, the vocabulary he uses, the scenes he focuses on, I think will give you a tremendous insight, especially because you're a writer and you know how characters talk versus how other characters don't talk.
Right. That's interesting. So once again, Dan brings us back to the common theme of all chaser and chub interactions: communication.
Yeah, what you see is not what I see. I mean, how many times have we gone through that, Michael? Like, the chub does not see the world like a chaser does.
No. Most people don't.
Interesting. Well, obviously, this is scratching the surface of a topic that has many different facets to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Charlie, I hope this was somewhat helpful to you. Goofus, I hope you're in a much better place now than you were then.
You've changed your name.
We have a tip for today, I think.
Ooh,
we
God, it's
do.
been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Is this the first tip of the new year? I think it might be.
I think it is.
This
Yeah.
is the first tip of the new year.
It's like an iceberg.
So new year. This is kind of revisiting a former tip. I believe I talked in the past about Join, Joyn, which is an online, they say movement classes, workout. It's online workout videos, but for fat people by fat people. And because it's a new year, they have some new courses with new instructors. And one of these caught my eye in particular, and it's led by, hopefully I'm saying this right, Charles Abuzed, who is teaching strength training.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the class is available just yet, but I went to his Instagram page and I was completely blown away by all these videos he has of him doing different strength training exercises. One in particular is Charles doing a headstand and removing a pair of sweatpants with just his legs.
Wow.
And he's a big guy. He's like probably
I was going to say that's the
like
important part.
6'3".
He's
Sorry,
6'3", but he is also he is quite hefty. I would guess he might be in the low 300s at that size. But he's doing this headstand and he's doing these amazing things and yeah.
And I enjoy Join's spread, but I don't know. I've always been kind of surprised when it comes to any kind of like movement, exercise, whatever. I would have assumed I would prefer female instructors, but I found the opposite. That I don't know why, but I'm more comfortable with male instructors, which when it comes to any kind of like fat or body positive workout stuff, there aren't a lot of male instructors.
I really like how the Let's Join Instagram page introduced Charles with a quote from him in this picture. He's saying, movement is a celebration of who we are and what our bodies can do. And when we honor that by moving in a way which feels good to us, that's when we find joy and peace and in our own movement practice. And I find that very encouraging. I mean, it's when you look at what he's actually saying, it's really, Dan said this a year ago when we had a bit about exercise and what exercise really means. And it's actually just about finding a way to move yourself that you enjoy and makes you feel good. And I think this really follows in that same mindset.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's your body's expression of who you are in the world.
Yeah.
If you want more information about Join, it's join.com, joyn.com. There, Let's Join on Instagram, or just give Charles a follow at he's Team Wagon, WAGON, on Instagram.
Yeah, and I guess it's worth pointing out, I don't think we've ever said this before, but we aren't sponsored by anybody, at least not at this stage. So we're genuinely bringing these up because we appreciate these people and these companies.
Yes.
But if you want to sponsor the Big Fat, Don, do we have
looking at you, Winston Box? I need some new clothes. All right. So our bit this week is dedicated to Goofus, the asshole who hurt Charlie so badly.
Oh.
And to explore Goofus, I have picked a selection of people or organizations who should have been better at what they were doing and were not.
Mm-hmm.
This week we also have a military theme because that was easier to find this sort of thing. So, multiple choice, boys. Question 1. In 1453, the Ottomans attacked Constantinople in an attempt to topple the Byzantine Empire. Constantinople, however, was protected by magnificent walls and well-equipped defenders. Though many thought the siege would fail, no one could have expected that 1. Gophers had undermined the northern wall, which collapsed shortly after the siege began. 2. Someone would accidentally leave one of the gates wide open. 3. The leaders of the two armies fell in love and ended the conflict peacefully. Or 4. The Ottomans would get lost en route and launch a surprise attack, not realizing they were in the wrong place and attacking a neighboring city they were allied with.
Or E. The Turks had couches. I'm gonna go with B. Two. I think they left the gate open on accident.
Someone just left the gate wide open
left
for
the keys
everyone
in
to
the
walk
car. Somebody fucked up.
through. Watch out.
I really like the gopher defense, or I just because I keep picturing Caddyshack and the little and the Ottoman Empire.
I'm doing the.
He's dancing.
I'm doing the dance. It's very entertaining.
Doing the gopher dance.
Yeah, it's adorable.
So you're going gopher?
I think I have to go for it.
Okay, Dan's gophering the gopher. Trevor.
I'm going with 4.
Attacking
got
the
lost?
wrong city.
Yes.
All right. The correct answer is, in fact, someone just freaking left the gates open.
Yeah.
And the armies just walked right in. So
I chose that one because that's exactly what I would have done.
there's a reason why Michael and I have never been employed as city guards. You're just saying.
True. It's very true.
We both do exactly the same.
Because of the Ottomans?
Yeah. All right. So, Dan, I have a feeling you may know the answer to this one. I don't know about the other guys.
Okay.
Just before World War II, the French had built a massive, intricate system of impenetrable fortifications along their border. They could never have expected that these fortifications were useless because, 1, Germany had missiles. 2, Germany controlled the land that the supply lines that fed the fortifications, allowing them to starve out the defenders quickly. 3, Germany used tanks that blew their way through the walls. Or 4, Germany went around it.
Oh.
And no, I don't know.
Yay.
Huh.
Is there a gopher in this scenario? Because I'd pick that.
I'm going to say tanks just because.
Because the tanks
right.
just blew their way through the walls.
Yeah.
All right. One for
Yeah,
tanks.
I feel like the Germans were known for their tanks and the utilization of, artillery. I'm going to say tanks.
You got 2 for tanks. Dan?
I think I'm just going to go. They went around because we already have two tanks.
2 things with walls.
Yeah.
Okay. The correct answer in this one is, in fact, Germany just went around the line.
And you know what I said?
It's called the Maginot Line. It was considered like one of the best fortifications created, but it just ended at their border with Brussels. So the Germans just went through Brussels and ignored the entire thing.
I feel like I made the mistake playing Civilization.
You know what, Don? Tanks a lot.
My gift to you. All right. Question 3. Emus. The massive flightless birds who can eat a farmer's entire harvest in one sitting invaded Australian farmland in 1932 and set about doing damage to their stock. In need of help, the military was called in to drive the emus away. While you'd think soldiers armed with machine guns would easily overcome an avian menace, the Australians never could have expected, 1, emus are immune to bullets and are able to outrun the surprised soldiers. 2,
seems legit.
The emus had consumed the natural predators of the extremely poisonous spider population in the area. The emus also ate the spiders, and without them, the spiders spread out of control, resulting in multiple deaths.
Holy shit, that's the most Australian thing I've ever heard.
It is.
3, the emus had apparently formed an alliance with local kangaroos, as when the soldiers started shooting, both the emus and kangaroos in the area started attacking the soldiers and drove them out of the area.
That sounds like a Donism.
4, there were no massive amounts of emus in the area, just one elderly one on its last legs being used as part of a publicity stunt staged by Emu brand shoe polish.
What? Wait, what? So they weren't. So
emus are immune to bullets. A, final answer.
Which one was that, Michael?
A. One.
Emus are immune to bullets?
Emus are immune to bullets. I want to believe.
I'm also going to say A.
All right. Emus are immune to bullets. We got 2.
I'm going with a giant publicity stunt. That just seems so perfect.
All right. Giant publicity stunt. The correct answer in this one is, in fact, emus are immune to bullets.
What? No.
The bullets were not able to penetrate their feathers. Same way that, like, when you hunt a turkey, you got to shoot its head off. You can't just shoot the turkey because the bullets, unless you get it straight on, the bullets are going to be deflected by the feathers.
Wow.
I
knew it wasn't an alliance with kangaroos. That was just impossible and it's absurd.
Yeah, I mean, that blood feud is never going to be settled.
Yeah.
Hatfields and McCoys.
Yeah. All right.
What?
The last question. I'll be ready.
Yes.
Gideon Pillow is acknowledged as one of the worst generals in the American Civil War. Which of the following plans earned him that honor? 1. He ordered his soldiers to entrench on the wrong side of the fortifications at the Battle of Cerro Gordo. 2. Having no victories to claim, he made up extensive stories of his heroism to the press that quickly revealed him to be a buffoon when the reporters sought to verify his claims. 3. Faced a court-martial for stealing a Mexican cannon and trying to smuggle it home in his luggage. Or 4. Humiliated the Southern Army by retreating from an opponent that was all but beaten, having his forces retreat to a fort, and then abandoning all 15,000 of his men to escape the fort in the middle of the night, allowing them to be captured by Union forces the next day.
Huh.
This is a real person.
I'm going to say 4 because then it's a pillow fort.
Wow.
I'm going with A, that he had them entrench on the wrong side of the fortifications.
I'm going to say he abandoned his fort.
And the correct answer is all of them.
Oh my God.
This person, and there were more. Like these were not the only things he did. He's sort of amazing if you read the bio.
Oh my God.
This much incompetence wrapped up in one person is amazing. Goofus would definitely have been on the Confederate side, I'm just saying.
Can we resurrect him and send him to the to all of the Trumpers out there who think they're going to rise up and retake the Capitol? Just have him.
Yeah, we got
them.
the general for you.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
We got just the guy. He likes lying to the press and everything. So
That sounds good.
we wanted to do something completely different for our question of the week. This is we're going to ask you, what is an example of a chub or chaser in your life who really helped you through a specific trial that you were going through? What is a story of something totally opposite of Charlie's experience with Goofus? We want to know. We'll talk about it in our mailbag segment. Write us in. And Trevor, where can they write the answers to this question?
I'm glad you asked that, Michael, because it's my favorite part of every episode.
We're on Cue the music.
We're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Leave us 5 stars or a review on Apple or Stitcher. Check out all of the lovely things we talked about. Articles, everything, big color, conspiracy theories at www.bigfatgaypod.com.
Yeah.
Yay.
I want to say thank you to the people who have left us a few reviews on Apple Podcasts, a few ratings and a review. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yay.
Yeah, maybe you're the listener who's always in their car, clutching the steering wheel, driving around endlessly in some kind of hellish purgatory where all you do is listen to the podcast and scream at us. And as Don warned earlier, he's in the back seat. So
Watch out!
He's going to strangle you with piano wire.
Oh, no. But you'll be forewarned because you'll see a piano coming up behind you.
yes.
No, I don't own a piano.
Okay. I'm going to hit stop.
Stop!
I think that's wise.